Yo, what is up guys, and welcome to another Wild Rift video. The game that you're about to watch today is the game that made me Challenger, and I played Senna, and I haven't made a Senna video for so long, but I have so many things to share about Senna, because I am super good at Senna. This is one of the champions that I'm like really good at, and I'm gonna share to you guys exactly how to play her, and some of the craziest flash combos, and everything you need to know about this champion. So, I was also playing with and against pro players in today's match, so you guys are gonna love this video. So there's timestamps in the description to skip to the gameplay. Now let me tell you about builds. There's three builds that I play on Senna. The first build, I'm gonna be real quick with the first build, is if you're up against full attack damage, it's like an armor build. And I'm actually gonna change this build to show you how it works. Basically, you go for Black Cleaver, then you go for the Iceborne Gauntlet, then it depends. If you want to be even tankier, you go for the Guardian Angel. If you're super ahead and you want to deal damage, then you go for the Navori Quickblade and then the Runan's Hurricane. This is the build that, well, not Essence Reefer at all. Please don't, never ever go for Essence Reefer. This is the build that I went in today's video. This doesn't include it, but basically Iceborne Gauntlet, Navori Quickblade, Runan's Hurricane. You only want to go for this type of build, and then of course with the plated steel caps with it as well. You only want to go for this type of build if you're up against a full attack damage composition. Now let's talk about the two other builds that you're gonna be playing in 95% of the other games. Number one, you want to be tanky. This is the build that you want to be tanky with. If you're up against like a lot of assassins, that's when you want to run this build. So if your team already has more than enough damage and is kind of lacking tanks, or if you're just afraid of assassins, this is the build you want to run. So the way that it goes is you go for the sickle first. You don't actually go for boots, but you go for Black Cleaver. This is super important item. You go for Black Cleaver first item after the sickle. The boots that you go for is gonna be Boots of Furor or plated steel caps if you feel like you need the plated steel caps. So yeah, Boots of Furor or plated steel caps. I see some Senna players go for Ionian boots, but honestly I prefer Boots of Furor much over the Ionian boots of Lucidity, just because of the movement speed you get for your attacks. And like these boots give you stacks for free. So if you basic attack an enemy, it gives you just enough movement speed to catch up to them and basic attack them again, you know, to get that soul out of them. Second item is going to be a Divine Sunderer. You can also go for other items like a Wit's End. This is like Wit's End is surprisingly good on Senna, by the way, but like Divine Sunderer really fits well with Black Cleaver, because like after using an attack, your next blade deals damage to the target's maximum health. If the targets are all very squishy, like the enemies are all very squishy, you can skip out on the Divine Sunderer. Another thing that's good about this build, by the way, this build is good against assassins, like if you really have to be tanky. But this build is also good against tanks. Like if the enemies have a lot of tanks and you like you want to be damaging them too, you just go for this build. So like either tanks or assassins, that's where you want to be going towards this build. If the enemies have a lot of like long range ADC types of champions, or like mages like Orianna, that's when you want to go for the other build that I'm talking about. So yeah, this build is either against assassins or tanks. So if the enemies have a lot of these two, that's when you go for this build, and then the rest is the other build. So yeah, Navori Quickblade is like broken on Senna. Like I realized that very soon. It's really situational, but the two main items are going to be Black Cleaver and Divine Sunderer. And after that, it depends. There's so many items that are good on Senna. You know, as I said, Wit's End if you're up against a lot of magic damage. Navori Quickblade if you want to be using your abilities just a little bit more. Runan's Hurricane if you're up against a lot of tanks. So like if you're really up against a lot of tanks and not that many assassins, Runan's Hurricane is amazing combined with the Black Cleaver and the Divine Sunderer, because you're going to be hitting 3 enemies at the same time. There are a few more items that are viable on Senna, but I really only want to talk about these ones for this particular build. And then the runes that you go for this build are Grasp of the Undying. Second rune is a bit questionable. I love Brutal for the early game damage, but like Giant Slayer, for example, is amazing as well. If you're up against a lot of tanks, you go for the Giant Slayer. But if you're up against a lot of assassins and stuff like that, that's when you can go for the Brutal, because Brutal really allows you to brutalize the enemies in the early game. Because Senna really uses Brutal very well with basic attack. First ability applies Brutal as well, so that's why Brutal is really good on Senna. But yeah, Giant Slayer is generally gonna be better, I would say, because like late game you will do so much more damage. Third one is situational, whatever you need. Adaptive Carapace, it's like really situational. I can't tell you what to go for. Bone Plating if you're up against a lot of burst. Nullifying Orb if you feel like you need a Nullifying Orb. It's a whatever. So either Adaptive Carapace, honestly. You can go for Hunter Titan as well if the enemies have Twisted Fate, etc, etc. Bone Plating, as I said, is good. Nullifying Orb, it depends. Fourth rune, really important, Mana Flow Band. With this build, you have to go for Mana Flow Band because you are going to be running out of mana with this build. For your spells, you go for Flash and Exhaust. So let me show you the other build, which is this one. This is the build you run if you want to carry. If you're up against a lot of squishies. Like if you play Senna Nasus or like Senna with any sort of tank in the bot lane, you kind of want to go for this build because, you know, your team is lacking damage, lacking raw damage, I should say, because this is a raw damage build. Doesn't really do that much damage against tanks, but this is a raw damage build. So if you're up against a lot of squishies, this is the raw damage that you're going to be needing. So, yes, let me tell you. Spectral Sickle. For the boots, it's the same story, but you go for Mana Mune. This is going to be the raw damage, and you're not going to run out of mana because of it, and you're going to have a lot of ability haste. Second item is going to be an Navori Quickblade. Yet again, raw damage. Senna already gets a lot of crit from her passive, so it perfectly works with Navori Quickblade, and it really allows you to spam your abilities, especially your first and second ability. Very, very important. Third item, Runan's Hurricane. Yet again, just raw damage to as many enemies as possible. This is great. If you really want single target damage, you go for the Infinity Edge, but this item is a far stretch because like this is really, really hard focused on single target damage. So yeah, Black Cleaver, if you need to be just a little bit tankier, you can throw in a Black Cleaver with this build. Wit's End, you can throw it into this build as well. Guardian Angel, you can throw it into this build as well. Like you can throw a lot of items in this build. And then for your enchantment, not Redemption, you actually want to go for Stasis, or you can even go for a Meteor, like Meteor, because you have the Spectral Sickle. Yeah, exactly. In the new update though, they're going to be changing the support items, so this may change. If you don't have a sickle, don't go for Meteor. So just keep that in mind, you guys. Common misconception, by the way, you don't want to be going for Protect Enchant, because your ultimate is not going to be enhanced that much, because the cooldown of your ultimate is really, really long, so you're only going to be increasing the shield by 25%, which is really nothing. For the runes, you go for Kraken Slayer. Kraken Slayer is better than Fleet Footwork. You don't want to go for Fleet Footwork when you play Senna like this, because Kraken Slayer, the true damage, you have so much raw attack damage with this build, because like, you know, Mana Mune, Navori, it gives you so much raw attack damage. So Kraken Slayer is amazing, especially with Senna's passive as well, which gives you raw attack damage as well. Second rune, same story. Brutal or Giant Slayer. Generally, Giant Slayer is going to be better, but Brutal is really good for the early game. And here, yet again, same story, but fourth rune, you go for Pack Hunter. You don't need a Mana Flow Band here. I mean, honestly, Nimbus Cloak is good. Nimbus Cloak is actually good as well. I don't really like Nimbus Cloak myself, but it is good. You don't need Hunter Genius because you already have an Navori Quickblade. That's why I like Pack Hunter, because like Nimbus Cloak gives you a lot of movement speed when you use your spells, but Pack Hunter always gives you movement speed if you're like, you know, taking down enemy champions with your allies. So that's why I really, really love Pack Hunter. It's also really good in lane. It allows you to get stacks more easily, because 2%, even though it may not sound like a lot, is still 2%, and it can be just enough to get you that one extra stack that you need. So yeah, spells, flash, and exhaust. So that is it about the build. Let's now get into the gameplay. Alright, on to the gameplay. As you can see, Zach Q from Unicorns of Love, Jash from Team Queso. I'm playing with Keys and Bansko, who's a really good player as well. We're up against Team Queso Vegos, and apparently the enemy ADC, I think the enemy ADC is a pro as well, something like that. Basically, this game is filled with pro players. Let me just put the screen correctly. 1 second. There we go. I think it's... 1 second. There we go, yeah. As I said, this is the match that made me reach Challenger. Quick summarization of the draft. Enemies picked Nasus. Like, Senna Nasus is completely broken in this patch. So we took away Senna from them. This was Keys' idea. But apparently it was a top lane Nasus. So taking away Senna from them really didn't do anything. But yeah, this game is a bit of an interesting one, because as I said, we're against full attack damage. So I'm not going to go for any build that I mentioned early in the build part. Well, I'm going to go for the first build actually. But that build only really works in like 5% of the games where you're up against full AD composition. So I'm going to be going for Black Cleaver, Iceborne Gauntlet. And that build is so broken against a full AD composition. But I really want to say the item Navori Quickblade is so unbelievable. Navori Quickblade and Runan's Hurricane. These two items, I didn't really know too much about them. Ooh, look at this engage though. No counterplay to this. I'll talk about this later, but the item Navori Quickblade and Runan's Hurricane are so unbelievably good on Senna. I can't believe that I didn't really know too well about these items before. I knew about Runan's Hurricane actually. I knew about Runan's Hurricane, but not about Navori. Keys brought it to my attention, which is the Gragas in this game. That, hey, listen, Navori is actually insane on Senna. And then when I tried it, I was able to spam the hell out of my abilities, because the item gives you ability haste and of course the Navori passive, which reduces the cooldowns when you crit. So now let's talk about that kill that we got here. And this is not necessarily a tip for Senna. This is just a general concept about Wild Rift that I want you guys to understand. You can be proactive or reactive with your flash in Wild Rift. What I mean with that, for people that don't really understand English too well, is proactive is like you make the plays. You make the flash play. For example, with Gragas, you can use third ability and then flash on the enemy. These types of plays are plays that the enemies generally cannot react to. Another example is Lee Sin. He goes in, he uses ultimate and flashes behind you. So he kicks you backwards and you can't really react to it. The reason that I'm saying you can't really react to it is because you can react to it, but you either need superhuman reactions or you need to predict one of these two things. If you're in low elo, and what I mean with low elo is like below diamond. I'm not saying you're a bad player, I'm just saying that's generally low elo. If you're in lower elos, people are not going to react to these things. So you learning these types of things, for example, Senna's second ability flash that I did on the enemy Lulu, if you learn these types of combos before actually playing your champion, you're going to be ahead micro-wise of 99% of the players in your rank. Like you're literally going to be outplaying enemies micro-wise, which means like on a one-on-one first basis, you're going to be outplaying them. Or like in team fights, you're always going to be outplaying them with your flash because they won't see it coming and they won't be able to do it. You're always going to be outplaying them just by learning flash combos. It's simple. It's simple. He's ignited the Jinx there, by the way, but Jinx, Lulu shielded the Jinx, so she still went back. That should be a free kill. Yeah, there we go. So that play right there that I did, Lulu cannot react to it unless she just predicts it. I flashed with my second ability and I caught her. You have to learn these things. If you play Blitzcrank, learn to use flash with his first ability. You're gonna get so many new hooks. If you play Darius, learn to flash with his first ability and learn to flash with his third ability. Every single champion that you play, almost every single champion has these flash combos. And I really want to encourage you guys to learn it before actually playing that champion. Because, as I said, if you're in lower elo, you will get so many more wins because of it. At least you'll get so many more free kills because of it. Like compared to not learning these combos. Very, very important. And in high elo, it's kind of the same. But players will, players will more often do it. Because like, this is high elo, players will know the flash combos. And they'll counter you more often and they'll do it themselves more often. So you can see in this game, I went for a Black Cleaver and I'm going to go for armor boots. The enemy is full attack damage. I'm going to be so tanky. Like, it's going to be insanely hard for the enemy. But yeah. Wait, no, I don't remember actually. Oh yeah. The giveaway is almost ending for the coaching sessions. I'm giving away 5 coaching sessions this month. All you have to do to enter is put a comment under this video. I still have to pick 3 winners from last month as well. So I'm going to be picking 8 winners at the end of this month for the coaching sessions. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, give the video a like if you want to. It supports the channel. You can see the way that I'm playing my lane here. I'm just kind of chilling. I'm just trading. The reason that I'm trading very aggressively is because Keys has font of situations where you can be very aggressive if you're ahead or if you have an easy matchup. But like the reason that I'm playing and attack them, even though you take damage, it's gonna be worth because you're gonna be healing up from the because my Gragas has font of life. So those are like the small things. I'm exhausting him here. I'm kind of like I'm seeing a potential kill because like Jash is here, which is the Kha'Zix. I was thinking about flashing with my second ability here, but I didn't do it. I regret not doing that. I was really thinking about it. But I thought it was too risky because I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it. I really should have done it here. Because if you hit the enemy tower with your first ability, you're going to be getting that 30 gold from the Spectral Sickle. Just in case, like, Lee Sin would use his ultimate on my Kha'Zix, but he didn't. So I guess it's fine for me. I'm probably going to be getting armor boots here with the Meteor. Yes, I love Meteor on Senna. Oh my god. The reason that you can root enemies and instantly put the Meteor on them, and they literally cannot dodge it after that. So it's you need Locket or Redemption, because your first ability already heals your team, and your ultimate already provides... Like, you're pretty much able to outtrade anyone in a 1v1 like this, as long as it doesn't turn into a full-on team fight, a full-on fight. Because basic attack first ability will always outtrade enemies. Like, look at this. I will always outtrade her. I did it again. Yeah, she should be dead. You can see the exact combo that I talked about here, the Meteor, and it kills her. This is the exact combo that I talked about. So, like, Jinx could not counter this type of play. She cannot do anything against it. Like, that's the beauty of these flash combos, guys. Enemies cannot do anything. My ult went off. Oh, we nearly killed Lulu. Wait, I need to send a message to a friend of mine. I promised a friend of mine to watch Netflix with her. 1 second, sorry guys. I know this is unprofessional, but I promised a friend something and I forgot to message her. Oops. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. What? Wait. I had something in my mind that I really wanted to share. I actually don't know. This is a rare moment of silence where I don't know what to talk about. I have severe ADHD, so like I'm always able to come up with things. So like people often ask me like, do you prepare your videos, or like how do you always find something to talk about? And the honest answer to it is like I have quite severe ADHD. I'm not complaining. I'm actually very happy that I do. And there's a lot of bad things to it. For example, I literally cannot concentrate. I can't concentrate on anything. I cannot read a book if it's not like a super interesting book to me. I just can't concentrate. I cannot make homework. I can't. I literally, physically can't. Like throughout middle school, I never made homework. And somehow I made it through with like a very good level even. But look at this damage, by the way, guys. Look at how insane all of this is. So, but the good things about ADHD are, if I do find something interesting, oh boy, I can talk for years about it. That's also why I'm a really good commentator, a really good caster. Because even though English is my third language, I can just talk about so much, and I can always say something. I can always say something interesting about the game because it really interests me. So like that's how I constantly talk about something. So it was really weird that I had nothing to talk about that half a minute right there. Yeah. Third ability of Senna, by the way. This is an ability that gets misused quite often. So there's a few ways to use this ability. The first obvious way is to like use it for movement speed. But now let me tell you about some more ways. For example, you have a Malphite in your team. Use your third ability. Have your Malphite with you and gank a lane. Or use your third ability, have your Malphite with you and scare the enemies. Or this is really 300 IQ, you are alone, use your third ability and scare the enemies. Because they won't know what's under it. They won't know. Like, they won't know if it's you or if it's 5 enemies. Because they can't see anything. So, those are few things that you can do with the third ability. Also, if you're alone in lane, for example, and your jungler is ganking, you can walk away towards your jungler, use that third ability of yours and walk back to your lane. The enemies might be thinking, okay, he's just randomly using his third ability, but then boom, suddenly your jungler shows up. Because the enemies won't be able to tell what's happening during your third ability. So like, you're basically taking away information from the enemy, which makes them afraid. Which is always a good thing. Like, it's always a good thing to do. And as I said, you always want to be in the backline. By the way, you can clearly see I'm letting my team do the tanking. I am just attacking from the backline. And you can see Vegos is diving on me with Jace. He's never gonna kill me because I have a lot of armor. Like, that's why I went for this particular build in this game. You know, full armor. So, like, Jace can't kill me at all. Like, he cannot kill me like that. But yeah, even though you go for tanky Senna, you still want to be in the backline. Senna has a lot of range. You know, the later you get into the game, the more stacks you get, the more range she gets. With all of her abilities, she has a lot of range. So you always want to be behind. Like, you always want to be behind your teams at as far away as possible. You can also help them with your ultimate. Like, everything works for Senna from a long range. You never need to be close to the enemy. Not sure why he's not just diving her. I feel like you can just kill her, even though she polymorphs. Now I finished my Iceborne Gauntlet, by the way. This is such a toxic item on Senna. You can see I was trying to think about what to build here. But I realized, like, okay, you know what? I'm tanky enough. I can just go for more damage. So I chose to go for Navori after this. And then for the Runan's Hurricane. Like, I wanted to go for, like, the mix-wise. Tanky and damage. Also, like, another thing about Senna. If you're up against, like, a very tanky champion like a Nasus, there is a particular way that you can, like, really chunk him down. Your passive chunks him down. Because Senna's passive does damage based on current HP. So, like, if the enemy has 3000 HP, you will do a percentage of that 3000 HP. But if the enemy has 500 HP, you know, you're going to be doing much less damage. So, like, if you're up against a full HP tank, basic attack first ability, and then run back. You will do a lot of damage. So, like, that's a thing that you can do. And I believe it has, like, a 6-second cooldown or something, your passive. So, every 6 seconds you can do that. Here I asked, what do I build? I was asking Keys, because Keys is obviously a better support player than me. So, you know, I will ask or advice from him. Because that's how I get you guys these amazing support videos. Like a lot of it is also asking advice on keys, on how to build supports, how to play supports. So yeah, it's not like I don't know how to build Senna. But you know, I know how to build Senna, but there's always going to be someone that knows better than me. So that's why I'm asking him. Just so you guys know. So I don't want to see comments that are like, yeah, hells, you're even asking how to build Senna in your video, but you're telling us how to build Senna? How can you do that? But that's the explanation, right? I hope you guys understand. I mean, look, I'm taking like no damage from a Lee Sin. This is a Lee Sin who did his full combo except his ultimate, and I only took like 40% of my health. And I'm a ranged champion. That's because of this build. If you would have gone for the Manamune build, you would have probably died there. But with this build, you're not gonna die. Yeah, I'm going for Navori Quick Blades now. They're doing Baron because the enemy jungler died. That's a really, really good call. Like, that is a really good call. They should be able to get it for free. Especially because the Jace is in top lane as well. So there's only two potential enemies that can harm us. And I have my ultimate. You can see I'm ready with my ultimate in case the enemy goes in, right? Like, I'm always going to be ready. Boom, stack, boom, stacks. You can see I have 75 stacks right now, which is good. For 14 minutes, it's good. Like, it's good to have 80 stacks in 14 minutes. Really, really good. The thing about Senna stacks is though, like, it goes like this. Early on, it's a bit hard to get stacks because you don't have a lot of range. And after 12.5 minutes, every wave gets an extra cannon minion, which means an extra stack for free. So like before 12 minutes, it's a bit harder to stack. After 12 minutes, like right now, I can get stacks so fast. And a common misconception is that stacking is only really important in the early game. No. Look at this graph again that I'm making with my hand. You see that? Early game, you don't get a lot of stacks. But then late game, it goes like this. So like even if you're 20 minutes into a game, you still want to be paying attention to stacks as much as possible. You want to get every single stack. Of course, you don't want to get stacks if it causes your death and stuff like that. But still, 20 minutes in the game, 25 minutes into the game, you still want to be getting every single stack you can. Because, like, the difference between having 100 stacks and 130 stacks is insane. It's so big, the difference. Like, you don't think if you have 100 stacks that, like, yeah, I'm gonna win the game is over. 130 stacks is even more awesome. So, like, that's how you have to think. You have to get as many stacks as you can. And keep that in mind, you get so many more stacks in the late game. So, capitalize on it. And another thing about this is, like, don't be super sad if you didn't get that many stacks early game. Because of course it's not good. You know, of course it's not good if you don't get a lot of stacks early game. But like the game is not over. Because as I said, mid-late game, you can get so many stacks to compensate for it. So like, don't give up on the game if you only have like 6 stacks in 2 minutes. It's okay. It's okay. You know, we have bad games. It's okay. Focus on what's coming next. You can still easily come back into the game easily with Senna. Just focus on stacks. Make the right calls. And another thing about Senna is you can use your third ability to roam around and get to as many minion waves as you can. So like if your dragon laner pushed his wave, you can use your third ability, rotate to mid lane and get that wave as well. You can see here I'm just trying to stop Lee Sin from stealing this dragon, because if we take this dragon, we pretty much win the game. And we stopped him, as you can see. We pretty much won the game. We have 3 dragons now. We have a very strong late game composition. I mean, honestly, the enemies have probably have a stronger late game composition, but because we took 3 dragons, they don't really have a stronger late game composition anymore. So like the game is essentially over here. We have 3 dragons, we have so many buffs. I'm sitting on nearly 100 stacks, so like the game is pretty much over. Yes, don't steal us away. The thing about Senna is as well, you really start to get strong at 60 stacks. Like before 20 stacks, you're not that strong. After 20 stacks is like your first major power spike. 40 stacks is like okay as well. But 60 stacks is where it really starts to get strong. And then 80, 100, 120 is just... you get exponentially stronger. It's crazy. Well, no, not exponentially. You just get so much stronger. It's crazy. Here you can see this was the game that got me like, I think 80 LP. Yeah, 80 LP. I was MVP. And this was the game that made me Challenger. After this game, I reached Challenger. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.